listen, I really appreciate the response to my first couple of videos, and I've asked you to turn in, whatever requests you want for me to review. And some of the requests have been so ridiculously fun that I can't pass them up. So I've got to start this off with a caveat. Yes, I am aware that I am criticizing things that are just supposed to be science fiction, fantasy, cartoons. I get it. But it's just too fun not to do it. So, with that in mind, the court calls the case of the city of Radiator Springs v. Lightning McQueen.
Officer, talk to me, babe. How long is this gonna take? I gotta get to California pronto.
Where's your lawyer?
Okay, so first, some realism here. This guy Lightning McQueen thinks he is just way too good for this court, which, I mean, yeah, maybe he is. But anyway, I've had 100 clients that have come into the courtroom and gone, hey, how long is this gonna take? And it's like, you're accused of a felony 4, right? You could do some pretty serious time for this, and you have a prior record. This is gonna take as long as it takes. Anyway, so we're actually starting off with some realism from the cartoon.
The defendant has no lawyer. The court will assign one to him.
And then we get to some not-so-realness. When a defendant has no lawyer, the court will assign one if the prosecution is actually pursuing jail time, is the rule that we follow here in Arizona. I'm assuming that Lightning McQueen's driving with no prior record isn't going to get him jail time, so he's probably not getting an attorney.
Shoot, I'll do it, Sheriff. All rise. The Honorable Doc Hudson presiding.
Show off.
May Doc have mercy on your soul.
May have mercy on your soul for reckless driving or whatever minor misdemeanor he's actually been accused of. And also, can we address the fact, is Tow Mater actually a licensed attorney? Now listen, I don't know what the licensing requirements are in Radiator Springs, but fun fact, a lot of people think that Radiator Springs is actually based on Holbrook, Arizona, Williams, Arizona, and a few others that are here in my home state. So I might actually be licensed in Radiator Springs. I'm not sure.
My town, Sheriff. I want his hood on a platter. I'm gonna put him in jail till he rots. No, check that. I'm gonna put him in jail till the jail rots on top of him, and then I'm gonna move him to a new jail and let that jail rot.
Anybody else get the feeling that Doc's already kind of made up his mind here? Seems like Lightning might be guilty before the trial even actually begins.
I'm gonna go talk to the judge.
Do what you gotta do, baby. Oh, but listen, be careful. Folks around here are not firing on all cylinders, if you know what I mean.
Ka-ching!
I'll keep that in mind.
Never had a client actually try to flirt with the prosecutor before. Don't think that's gonna go over so well. Of course, I've never had a prosecutor roll into the court as a Porsche either, so yeah. Maybe.
Okay, I didn't want to have to do this, Doc, but you leave me no choice. Fellow citizens, you're all aware of our town's proud history.
Here she goes again.
Radiator Springs, the glorious jewel strung on the necklace of Route 66.
Okay, this is a glorious political stump speech, but I'm not sure what the prosecutor addressing the gallery here is going to do to the judge. Look, there may be some instances where you say, hey, look, we really need to get the citizens on our side. Maybe we need to go to the media or something like that. So if that's what they're trying to depict here, okay, could work. Just doing a good job.
So what do you want him to do?
Fix the road!
Because we are a town worth fixing.
Order in the court!
Seems like my mind has been changed for me.
All right, and Lightning gets sentenced to hard labor, which we really don't do that often anymore. But I don't know, maybe fixing a street that you actually damaged, you could call it. Maybe it's restitution. Maybe it's, community service. We do tell people they got to go and clean up the highway. So fixing the road, yeah, maybe, I guess. So there you have it. Lightning McQueen is guilty of whatever offense it was, which they never actually said here, but I'm guessing reckless driving, and his sentence is to fix their road so that their town doesn't go under. Seems like the punishment fits the crime here, and that is the court scene from Cars. And Ridiculous Court Scenes is calling the case of Harry Potter v. the Ministry of Magic.
Change the time of your hearing. When is it? In 5 minutes.
All right, so our first problem right off the bat. Look, the rules of court and the Ministry of Magic clearly require that a defendant be notified well in advance if the time of his hearing has changed. You have to send an owl under the old rules. Now, in modern day, we are allowed to send, as they said here, the floating letters, right? Those are acceptable now. No, but in all reality, yeah, a court would actually have to notify a defendant that they've changed the time of their hearing. It's probably going to get mailed out, snail mail style. So, the owl's actually a pretty good comparison.
Yes, but we must be.
That's nice. Ex parte communication between the minister himself and one of Harry's enemies, which I forget that guy's name. It's Malfoy's dad. Doesn't like him at all. So that doesn't bode well for his case. And the minister here might have to recuse himself just because of that conversation.
I'm not allowed in, I'm afraid. Good luck, Harry.
So apparently the Ministry of Magic has got a bar exam or something because Mr. Whatever his face is here, I forget. He's not allowed into the court chamber. So, okay, yeah, they must have a bar exam. We're going to find out here in a minute that Dumbledore actually passed the bar. So that's nice. Before he studied magic, he must have been studying law.
You got our message that the time and place of the hearing had been changed, did you?
I must have missed it, but by a happy mistake, I arrived at the ministry 3 hours early.
Yeah, so we're just going to proceed without your attorney present. Yeah, that's no problem at all. It probably gives you grounds for an appeal. I mean, I'm pretty sure even in the ministry here, you can appeal a decision if your lawyer isn't even present for your trial. So, yeah, just going to proceed without it. Luckily, Dumbledore comes bursting in and he's ready to represent Harry. So, good. Happy conclusion there to that segment.
Against the accused are as follows: that he did knowingly and in full awareness of the illegality of his actions produce a Patronus charm in the presence of a muggle.
Okay, that Patronus charm, I believe, makes it an aggravated offense. If it had been something similar, really simple, like a stupefy or something like that, you just go with the misdemeanor using magic in the muggle world. But I believe the Patronus charm actually makes it aggravated, so we're in the felony count here. So this is serious stuff.
Dementors? You little whinging.
Yeah, that's quite clever. Muggles can't see Dementors, can they, boy? Highly convenient.
I'm not lying. There were 2 of them, and if I hadn't...
Now, luckily for Harry, it is an affirmative defense that he's using magic in the Muggle world to defend himself against Dementors, okay? So self-defense is an affirmative defense against assault, and the Dementors are assaulting him, so therefore, we've got an affirmative defense here, even in the ministry.
Look here, Dementors don't just wander into a Muggle suburb and happen across a wizard. The odds are astronomical.
I don't think...
So fun little point here. It looks like in the Ministry of Magic, in the magic world here, there is no separation of powers, because what you're looking at here in the ministry looks more like a parliamentary setting than it does a judicial setting. Everybody's gathered around. They're actually even wearing like different uniforms to suggest like, yeah, we got one party over here, we got the other party seated over there. We got the minister, which suggests prime minister right there in the middle. So it looks like no separation of powers there. The prime minister is both prime minister and head judge. So, okay, interesting.
Dementors are, after all, under the control of the Ministry of Magic. It's so silly of me, but it sounded for a moment as though you were suggesting that the ministry had ordered the attack on this boy.
That would be...
Okay, if you've ever seen this movie before, I'm going to tell you, I'm a peaceful person, okay? Life is precious. But that lady that just spoke, I would feed her to my dog even if he wasn't hungry. That is one of the best villains in all time. Has nothing to do with the law, but I just had to say it.
Cornelius, I implore you to see reason. The evidence that the Dark Lord has returned is incontrovertible. He stopped Buck.
Okay, so the minister here probably needs to recuse himself from this case. I'm just going to say he's already decided, made up his mind on a very key fact of this trial, and that's that the other explanation is that Voldemort could have sent the Dementors. And he's already said, nope, that couldn't possibly be it. And so he can't really be open-minded, can't be impartial. So, Mr. Minister, you really should have recused yourself here.
The law clearly states that magic may be used before muggles in life-threatening situations.
There's that affirmative defense I was talking about.
Laws can be changed if necessary, Dumbledore.
Clearly, it has become practice to hold a full criminal trial to deal with a simple matter of underage magic.
Those in favor of conviction.
Oh, he didn't even say, I rest my case, and they were already asking the jury for a finding. Well, okay, well, here we go. You guilty, Harry? Yeah, Pink Lady, of course you say guilty.
Accused of all charges.
Cleared of all charges?
Professor.
And Harry is not guilty. He goes back to Hogwarts and everything is A-OK. Wow. Fascinating scene from the Ministry of Magic. I gotta tell you, I'm not so well versed in their laws. I am in the laws of Arizona, but it seems like we have some similarities, some differences. All right, Ridiculous Law Cases calls the case of the Klingon Empire versus Worf, son of Moog.
It is good to see you again.
You are still fat, Kimpeck.
Okay, that's a fact. Kim Peck is in fact very fat, but that's not what I wanted to talk about here. Okay, so this witness, he's very clearly acquainted with her. You found out earlier in the episode that that's actually his babysitter from when he was a little boy. So once again, I don't know why we got to have all these judges that should have recused themselves, but it's like, come on, Klingon Empire, you trying to give Worf an appeal? It's like you're trying to help him win his appeal. All right.
Why did you judge my father guilty when you knew he was not?
Someone had to be blamed. The warriors who captured the Romulan ship had learned of the treachery. But only the Council knew whose security code had been transmitted.
Once again, apparently we're Earth and our standard non-magical, non-science fiction world is the only ones that have separation of powers, because as it turns out, the Klingon High Council is both the judicial branch and the legislative branch here, and the executive, because we're talking to the chief of the council here. And once again, really should have recused himself. If he was very familiar and knew who actually was guilty already, probably needs somebody else to try this case, right?
This Habidar should have been fed to the dogs!
His family is powerful. If the truth were known, it would shatter the Council. Most certainly plunge us into civil war.
Okay, so an unfortunate truth here that, if you have some money and you have some power, you are not going to have the same type of trial that other people are. Now, can you get good counsel, and can you be represented well, and can you find an impartial jury? Yeah, all of those things you can do. But the fact is, even in the real world, if you are somebody that is more well-known, you're treated differently under the judicial system. So apparently both in reality and in science fiction, that happens.
You will not be allowed to present this evidence. The judgment stands. You will be condemned. So will your brother. There is no other way now.
You admit the truth, and yet expect him to accept punishment? What does this say of an empire who holds honor so dear?
It says that they don't have any way to file an appeal, because clearly this guy shouldn't have been administering over this court proceeding. And it says that he's the highest authority on the whole planet or in the whole empire. So who's he going to answer to? So he doesn't care. Hey, that's why we've got separation of powers in the real world.
The alliance of the Federation is not based on lies, Kempuk. Protect your secrets if you must, but you will not sacrifice these men. I
will die for the Empire. Lieutenant! Lieutenant will be silent!
So I have been spoken to that way in court before by my client. Not that loudly, thank goodness, because it would have affected the case pretty negatively. But yeah, sometimes people just be like, you know what, I'm tired of this and you're going to be quiet. I've actually had people that have wanted to confess to their crime and just wanted to get it off of their chest. And I just had to tell them, you're going to sit down, you're going to be quiet, and not say something that stupid. But anyway, yeah, that's actually pretty real, especially for Star Trek.
You would do this in open council.
It would be the same as admitting your father's guilt, Worf.
So be it.
Your heart is Klingon. It will be done. What has been said here will never be spoken of again.
Okay, now minus the fact that it's just strictly science fiction, actually kind of an interesting settlement conference here. Now set aside the fact that everybody absolutely should not have been on this case. Not the judge, not Duras is the dadgum prosecutor, and he's the one whose father is actually guilty of the accused crime. But okay, set all of that aside, this is actually a judge bringing everybody to the table and saying, hey, can we get this settled? Can we get this done? It's called a settlement conference and they happen all the time. That's totally legit. Now, in a moment here, we're going to see how every settlement conference should conclude.
You are the son of a traitor.
I want the chance to just be able to slap the crap out of the prosecutor at the end of every settlement conference. That seems fair to me. I don't know why it wouldn't be fair to anybody else, but that seems like a good rule. I'm going to propose that, I think, in the next conference. We'll just say, yeah, let's get the chance to slap somebody. Okay. That is the case of Worf, Son of Mogg v. the Klingon Empire. Hope you enjoyed it.